When I was a few years old, I was playing in front of a mirror in an old apartment, and I had no idea that my entire life would be changed forever. My mother took me away from the mirror, and I began kicking and screaming. This would be normal, I suppose, for any young children. However, when my mother set me down, that's when everything changed. I had forgotten how to talk, how to properly convey my emotions and thoughts. It's as if a part of me was trapped in the mirror and couldn't get out. My parents soon took me to a diagnostician, and they told my parents that I had quickly developed a case of autism known as PDS-NOS. Even now, I couldn't tell you what that means. As for my parents, it meant all their dreams of the perfect little girl were gone. Soon, I was taken to a multitude of speech therapists, behavioral therapists, and so forth. I still felt like I was still trapped in the mirror and desperately trying to get out. Not for my sake, but the sake of my family. Soon, I was enrolled into a special elementary school for children with autism. This school was a godsend for my parents and for myself. I was finally able to get out of my mirror prison. Though I had to leave some parts of me behind, I didn't care. I was finally free, and through that newfound freedom, I made a lot of friends who were just like me. It made me so happy to know that I wasn't alone anymore. I went through elementary and middle school pretty well. I developed hobbies like singing, acting, drawing, and writing. I also found my love of Disney, Studio Ghibli, anime, and video games like Kingdom Hearts. But when it came time for high school, my parents didn't know what to do. They couldn't just put me in public school. I would have never survived. So my parents and several others hired a teacher from my old school, and we made a small homeschool group. This was a more difficult part of my life because I was a teenager with autism, and my emotions were all over the place. Also, having to be with the same group of people and being the only girl of this group took its toll on me. However, I made it through and graduated. Now came the biggest challenge I have ever had to face: adulthood. That meant looking for a college, finding a job, doing more adult stuff I was very limited at. This is when my old self-confidence began to plummet. I was enrolled into a college program for people with disabilities, and I was shocked to say the least. There were so many young adults there looking for opportunities to work when, in reality, there were and still are very few of them. It's only by sheer luck and the charity of others that people like me and so many others are even able to find jobs. It was also hard to think that my two younger sisters were coasting through high school and already applying to big-name universities. These facts alone shattered my self-confidence. I felt alone and trapped again. Only this was a prison of my making. I began to feel severely depressed and worthless. I couldn't tell my parents how I was feeling because I was afraid they would brush it off as me lying or looking for attention. I felt so lost. I had gotten a small job as a jewelry maker for a while and I working in class, but none of it made me feel better. Also, around this time, my grandmother's health was rapidly deteriorating after the passing of my grandfather. All of the stress, sadness, self-doubt, and hating was awful for my mental health. But then, little by little, I found the comfort and reassurance I desperately needed. At this point, I was online a lot, looking at silly videos to pass the time. Then, I stumbled upon a boy who would become one of my closest friends. Let's call him B. B and I would always talk online and make up stories about our favorite things. Soon, this led to us writing about them in a little series. And that's how we met S, a super talented artist and great writer. The three of us chatted non-stop and made up all sorts of stories. We're still friends today. But nothing could ever compare to when I met the person who would break me out of my prison. Jared, a sweet redhead boy with beautiful blue eyes, lean and tall, and one of the sweetest people I know. He and I met at a summer camp, and the first thing he noticed was my Kingdom Hearts shirt. From there, we talked about the movies we liked, TV shows, anime, video games. Surprisingly, we had a lot in common. We saw each other at 2 more camps before we exchanged numbers. After that, we texted nonstop to each other, mostly role-playing and making up fun adventure stories. Then, one fateful day, Jared asked me out to his winter formal at his school. I accepted, not thinking about it too much. I bought a new dress, drove to his school, and there he was. I was half expecting him to be wearing just a nice shirt and jeans, but he was wearing a nice suit. We went inside, danced, and talked. His friends and I talked to him about a few of the insecurities that I was facing at the time. He was so comforting and understanding. Later, we went to a couch set off in a corner and just sat and talked some more. He then took my hand and told me that he really liked me. Flustered, I tried to think of a response. I then thought, give him a kiss on the forehead while his eyes are closed. That'll show him that you like him too. So I told Jared to close his eyes. He did. I leaned over to kiss his forehead. Unbeknownst to me, Jared opened his eyes and moved to where we kissed on the lips. I was completely taken aback, but I didn't pull away. I kissed back, and that's how we became a couple. We have been together for almost 4 years now, and I am as happy as ever. I'm more confident in myself, and I have now been able to hold a very good job at my local VA hospital. Would I change the fact that I'm autistic? No, because it's through it that I have been able to discover myself in ways myself and many others could never have dreamed of. I hope that somewhere out there, this story will inspire and motivate you.